President Biden and I have been clear-eyed about navigating the complexities of the U.S.-China relationship with a pragmatic economic strategy, one that protects our vital national security interests while seeking a stable and healthy economic relationship. In July, I traveled to Beijing to pursue this approach with China's new economic team. We've made significant strides in deepening senior-level contact since then. This week, I'll host my Chinese counterpart, Vice Premier He Lifeng, in San Francisco, as we engage in more intensive diplomacy designed to further stabilize the relationship and make progress on key issues. Here are the principles behind our approach. As a foundation, our two nations have an obligation to establish resilient lines of open communication and to prevent our disagreements from spiraling into conflict. But we also know that our relationship cannot be circumscribed to crisis management. Together, the United States and China represent 40% of the global economy. A constructive economic relationship can not only serve as a stabilizing force for the overall relationship but also benefit workers and families in both countries and beyond. America's economic strategy is centered on lifting our economic potential at home, not on suppressing other economies. That's why President Biden has enacted historic legislation that invests in infrastructure and the key industries of the future. We recognize that economics is not a zero-sum game, and we seek healthy economic competition with China that can benefit both countries over time. But healthy competition requires a rules-based, level playing field. This week, I will speak to my counterpart about our serious concerns with Beijing's unfair economic practices, including its large-scale use of non-market tools, its barriers to market access, and its coercive actions against U.S. firms in China. In certain sectors, these unfair practices have resulted in the overconcentration of the production of critical goods inside China. The United States, along with our allies and partners, has been taking well-calibrated steps to mitigate this concentration by diversifying our critical supply chains. Our goal is not to trigger a disorderly, wholesale private sector pullback from China. As I said in Beijing in July, there is an important distinction between diversifying our supply chains and decoupling our economies. Diverse supply chains are necessary in a volatile world. Decoupling our economies would be economically disastrous and run counter to our national interests. In all U.S. foreign relations, our administration's first strategic priority is to protect our national security and that of our allies. This is an area where we do not compromise. We continue to take targeted actions to secure our vital security interests, including through our announcement of an outbound investment regime this summer. As we take these actions, our policy is to clearly articulate their intent and design to other countries, including China, to reduce the risk of misunderstanding and miscalculation. During my trip to Beijing, I explained to my counterpart that our outbound investment program is tailored toward the specific national security objective of preventing the advancement of highly sensitive technologies that are critical to the next generation of military innovation and could be used to conduct activities that threaten the national security of the United States. This program, like all of our national security actions in the economic sphere, is predicated on straightforward national security considerations and not designed for us to gain a competitive economic advantage over any other country. We've recently deepened our discussions with China through the establishment of economic and financial working groups under Vice Premier He's direction and mine. The purpose of these groups is to provide ongoing channels for our teams to drill into the substance of economic and financial policy issues. We are not reconstituting the wide-ranging U.S.-China strategic and economic dialogue by another name but, rather, focusing on specific high-priority economic topics on which we can make tangible progress. These working groups met for the first time last month, and they will convene again this week. The groups enable us to exchange information on macroeconomic and financial developments about the world's two largest economies, which is particularly crucial today, given uncertainties in the global outlook and the economic headwinds facing China in its recovery. They also enable us to address some of the underlying sources of bilateral tension in the economic relationship. And they provide an opportunity to advance cooperation on common challenges, from reducing illicit financial flows that support terrorism and the illegal drug trade to tackling the existential threat of climate change. We have shown that we can make progress on global challenges together. For example, prior moments of bilateral cooperation have made climate breakthroughs such as the Paris Agreement possible. We now need to extend our cooperation toward one of today's key challenges, supporting developing countries by making essential investments to alleviate poverty, build resilience, and enable transitions to clean energy. Take debt. Today, more than half of all low-income countries are near or in debt distress, double the share of countries that were in this situation in 2015. Debt overhang erodes the economic foundations of these countries and serves as a drag on the global economy. Even as debt treatments are taking too long, the international community's extensive discussions with China and other official creditors enabled Zambia to formalize an agreement last month to restructure its unsustainable debt, allowing Zambia to restart its stalling economy. We want to build on this progress. As I prepare for my meeting with Vice Premier He, I proceed with confidence about the strength of our nation. The United States has experienced a rapid economic recovery from the pandemic, with an exceptionally strong labor market and easing inflation. And we are lifting our long-term economic outlook with major investments while reinvigorating our alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. We should not make the mistake of becoming so consumed with our competition with China that we become defined by it. We would do well to remember that America's economic preeminence emanates from within, our people, our inventive spirit, and our democratic values and institutions. As long as we invest in and commit to these strengths, we have no reason to fear healthy economic competition with any other country.